Hello, my name is Bryce H, and the career that I'm pursuing is accounting. It is something I've actually pursued for a couple of years now, and so it's something I'm excited about and glad to share with you. First things first, there are some common misconceptions about accounting. The three that I put up here is that, well, they're considered bean counters to society sometimes, meaning that accounting's doing the same thing over and over and over and over, and oh, that would be so boring to be an accountant. I would never want to do that, which is actually not entirely true. So even though there is some repetition as far as some of the same steps monthly and yearly, there are so many different clients and so many different situations that most of the time you're not dealing with the same situation twice. Now another one is a common one that I hear is you have to know calculus. You have to be such a great mathematician in order to succeed in accounting. And although math does help, have a great sound knowledge of math and good math skills, that is also a bit of a exaggerated point. To be a good accountant, accounting is more of learning a different language, a process, and really what double entry accounting is it's not so much the rocket scientist knowledge. The last one, and this is one that I've thought of years ago, I thought this was the case, but it's another misconception is that all accountants deal with taxes, and that is really surprisingly not true. There's several different areas of accounting that don't deal with tax. So here are some of the different types of accounting. Of course, we did put tax at the top since we just mentioned that. The next one is there's government accounting. That's a little bit different since the government runs things a little bit different, has different budgets. The next one, a common one, is audit. Now, audit is where you are checking someone else's books, the way that they've recorded all those transactions. You're really trying to make sure that they are recording everything accurately for their investors and that they're not trying to present themselves better than they are. Now the next one, forensic accounting, that one is pretty interesting. It's sort of the CSI accountant. They go in, they actually track information because sometimes criminals will use money and that will be evidence against them. The forensic accountant tracks the money, makes sure that there's no errors or any strange things going on. The non-profit accounting is just as it says. Your St. Luke's, your non-profit business that is doing their accounting, and they're a little bit different just because how they're taxed, just a little bit different. And the last one, corporate accounting, and this is actually what I want to be doing, is staying with one business, working internally, making sure that all of the transactions that we do as a business are helping us out. So what is accounting? We've talked about the types of accounting, but we actually want to dive into what is it. So accounting is to record the transactions that were made in the recent past. Sometimes you can even record things within the past year. But typically it's daily, it's monthly transactions, sometimes quarterly, and it really is what it sounds. You are accounting for what you have. What did you make? What was your revenue is what they call that, and what did you spend? What are your expenses? Now, it's also important to track that information, but then to be able to transition to put it into words, to actually make a report and to show your owner, your CEO, and say, hey, this is what's going on. And so down at the bottom, if you could see those two arrows, we have accounting pointing to the left, and then we have finance pointing to the right. Now the reason why I did that is accounting, there's a difference between accounting and finance, surprisingly, right? Accounting, you are looking towards the past and you're tracking everything that you've done, whereas finance, you're looking towards the future. It's things that you're planning on doing to be able to make some revenue. Now we just talked about the different types of accounting that there are out there. However, there are so many more opportunities and different scenarios that accountants can be in because every business is different. and every business needs someone tracking their financial information. So I've got a video here. It's pretty neat. It's by a guy named, well, his name is Roger Marsh, and he works at a laboratory testing center. So we will play the video, and he will talk a little bit about why he likes what he does and some of the benefits that come with it.
Numbers have always fascinated me. There's no questioning the numbers. They're not subjective. They don't lie to you. They're reliable. They tell you the truth, and the truth enables you to make good decisions. My name is Roger Marsh, and I'm an accountant at an environmental testing laboratory. I'm proud of my job. I'm proud of what we do here. I may not be the person that goes out in the field and analyzes the samples, but I'm still a critical part of the team. Without me, we wouldn't know whether we made money or lost money. The bills wouldn't be paid. And most importantly, you wouldn't be paid. On a daily basis, my job is to prepare the financial statements, do performance analysis, and report back to the board. These things have always been necessary, ever since business began, and they will always be needed. That makes accounting one of the most secure career paths I can ever imagine. I didn't end up with this company because I needed a job. I ended up here because I chose to be here. The team and the environment are very important to me. When I was in school, I started as a finance major. And one day in Accounting 101, a new guy showed up. He worked for an oil company in Los Angeles called Marco. His name was Robert O. Anderson. And he wasn't really a professor, but he was a professor in residence at our school for a month. And to me, as a lowly freshman, that guy changed my world. It made accounting very interesting. He pointed out that accountants would always be necessary to a company. He said you could work anywhere as an accountant. You can pick your own type of company you want to work at, the location you want to work at. And if you get tired of it, you can always leave, because a finance officer will always be in demand. Getting a degree in accounting was the greatest thing I've ever done. It opened up an entire world of opportunity for me. I could go work for SpaceX as an accountant. I could go into the commercial leasing business. I could sit at home and be a consultant. I could work part-time. But for now, I'm happy. I like my team, my office, and this environment. Why would I pick one school over another? Well, as an employer, if I'm looking at you as a potential employee, I want to know, can you work for me day one? Or do I actually have to retrain you to do the job? So looking at the internships that the school offers while you're there as part of their curriculum is really important. Because if you have worked as an accountant for a couple of years in school, the day you graduate, to me, you're very valuable. That means that I hire you first and I pay you more. Accounting is a terrific career path. You can be an inside guy, you can be an outside guy, you can be quiet, you can be loud, but for sure, your services will always be in demand. You get paid well for that. It's challenging. It's hard. People want to know what you think about a specific problem, and you need to be able to respond to that. The pay isn't what keeps me here, but it's pretty good.
Alright, I really enjoyed that video. I thought it did a great job explaining real-life situations and how numbers can actually be exciting. So let's talk a little bit about how we get there, the qualifications. So it's really important to be analytically minded. Basically, that means that you have great attention to detail. You'll see that all over. It's one of those accounting words that for whatever reason is kicked around quite a bit. So it's really important to be able to make sure that you're saving the company money and not losing anything. It's also important to have a great knowledge of the processes, specifically double entry accounting. That is a complete must because every business will record it through the double entry accounting. Now, as far as knowledge of various accounting software, the standard is QuickBooks. So there are so many different softwares out there. Each business likes to run their own, but the standard is QuickBooks for the smaller companies, and for the really large companies, you're going to be working with SAP. So typically, you're going to need 2 years of experience for an entry-level position. So the reason that that's the case is because you're dealing with money, and so even internships often have experience that's needed, a year and sometimes even 2 years of experience for internships. Now, the average accountant, you start hitting about 3 to 5 years of experience is when you're actually going to be paid for like an average accountant would. All right, so I had a great opportunity to interview with Paul Foster. He was a CEO over at Boise Cascade, which is a Fortune 500 company. Great opportunity. These were some of the questions that I asked him. I said, what are the most important attributes to have for accounting? He responded by saying, good attention to detail. So that definitely confirmed those qualifications. They're on there for a reason. The next one was, what was your favorite part of your career? He really enjoyed working with his team. He was very proud of what his team had been able to accomplish and the structure that they had. So his personality really matched that accounting with the structure. The next one, this one I was very interested in, is if you were able to go back and give yourself advice, what would you do differently? Now, his response to that surprised me, and I was actually impressed by it. He said that if he were to go back and do it differently, he would get his hands in on more areas of the company. That way he could be an even greater asset to the company, be able to see all types of different functions that went on. And so that's a great advice for anyone, even in the accounting department, especially in the accounting department. So the last one was, what steps did you take to become a controller? And his was pretty unique. He became a plant accountant. So he was working at the plant, the manufacturer, and he worked his way up there. He worked hard. He was accurate, and step by step it paid off. Now, he did go to school. He did get some more schooling, and that in turn also helped his resume. So let's move ahead here. It is really important to have every single one of those 21st century skills. We'll go through each one. It's important because, first of all, digital age literacy is especially important for an accountant. You're going to be dealing with the computer all the time. It's great to have inventive thinking. Kind of sets you apart a little bit, but specifically it's really important to see how your small transaction that you're working on ties into the bigger picture. And sometimes that transaction is actually a big transaction, and it's important to see how that ties in to the bigger picture so you don't make a mistake there either. It's also important to have effective communication. Now, I will say there are some areas of accounting that you don't have to be a phenomenal communicator, because you can just come in and work on the computer and give that to other information. But if you're dealing with clients, which often happens, and if you're dealing with the boss, it is extremely important to be able to put numbers into words and to be able to say that clearly. The last one is high productivity, and this is important wherever you go, whatever position you got, however high it is. It's very important to be effective. Sometimes that even determines your hours if you can just come in and get it done. It's pretty neat. Alright, so let's talk about the average pay and benefits. Benefits are great as far as hours. It's typically Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. However, with the year end, expect to be working a lot of overtime, as you can imagine. And then the pay range, it goes from $40,000 to $115,000. And then that makes an average of about $65,000. I have the breakdown down at the bottom, the percentile. We've got the lowest percent of accountants, so an accountant that's making the lowest amount of money, and that puts them about $20 an hour. And then the highest 90% in the 90 percentile, they're going to be making about $55 an hour. However, keep in mind that those jobs, those higher percentile, are probably going to be in New York, and so since New York is higher than here, it's just a little bit inflated. And that concludes my project. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned more about accounting.